Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second mini live lesson. And my name is Tesfaye Oldemetrin. I work for the British Council here in Ethiopia. Our focus for today is academic writing. And in this session, we'll focus on how to effectively organize your writing, appropriacy in vocabulary, and appropriacy in vocabulary, sentence structure, and style, and using precise language. Please follow our social media platforms, Facebook, British Council Ethiopia, Instagram, British Council ET, Twitter, ET, @ET British. So before we start, actually, as usual, make sure you take part in the session. I'll ask you questions throughout. So I'd like you to maybe type your answers in the comment box, and we interact that way. And if there are some questions as well, you might leave them there, and we go from there. Yeah. So, what is academic writing? So you may comment in the you may comment below and let us know. Yeah. What is academic writing for you? Yeah. Yeah. Is it nonfiction? Yes, one of it. Yeah, we can say that it's nonfiction. It's not fiction. It's not something creative. It's not storytelling. It's telling. It's writing about what really happened, or it's evidence-based writing rather than fiction-based. In other words, it's academic work as well. Yeah, academic work can be considered academic writing, but we can also say that reports, research, essays that we do at work are also academic, can be also considered academic writing. So when and why do we use them? Obviously, you might use them for studying purposes. So when you're studying at universities or secondary schools, you might need to be able to write effectively in academic writing style. Yeah, you would also need them for your work purposes. So these are the two places that we use academic writing. So, what do you think are three most important mistakes with organizing academic writing? Not understanding the question or the task, poor planning, illogical structure, and layout. So there are, we're expecting three. You may choose the three options as correct answers and send us, in the chat box. Yeah. Not in the chat box, in the comment box below. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So we can say the three most common mistakes with organizing academic writing. We are focusing on the organization of academic writing at this stage. And first is not understanding the question. People often forget or not focus on the task and what they are expected to do, and they just get into writing it, and that often causes all sorts of problems that come after that. So we need to understand the questions, the task that we are supposed to fulfill. And the other common or important mistake is poor planning. Do we thoroughly plan? Do we think about each bit of the writing? Illogical structure, that's another one. Layout can be embedded into in these three aspects. So if the task is achieved, so if the writer understands the task and plans well and keeps a logical structure, the layout could be part of that, part of these three aspects, but it is also important. Let's look at them one by one and in more depth. So when we talk about understanding the task, we are talking about reading the task or the question again and again, making sure that it is clear in our mind to us and that it will be clear when we write it, and it will be something that we start with clarity. And then we need to determine the focus. Is it to assess? Is it to evaluate? Is it to discuss? Is it to compare? Is it to do, something else? So you need to determine that. You need to make sure that it is clear for you what the focus is. And once that's clear, then you might think about planning based on, your understanding of the task. And clear sense of how you're approaching the task comes again from understanding the task, but you need to put that in your planning. So you need to make sure that and make sure about how you are approaching the task. How are you going to organize your ideas and arguments? What are the arguments you've got? What are your ideas you've got? So you need to think about what ideas and arguments are out there that you might need to focus on. You can then move on to structuring it. By structuring, we mean you need to think about what type of writing it might be. For example, if we are talking about argumentative writing, and you have, obviously, if you're talking about essay, let's say, yeah, you have a title, introductory paragraph, body paragraph, concluding paragraph, and in some cases, if you use some references from books, then you might need a bibliography at the end. So let's say if it is argumentative writing, then the logical structure is you have introduction, and you might also think about how many paragraphs you need to have in the body. And let's say you have 2 paragraphs, and you might dedicate the 2 paragraphs for, let's say, the first paragraph for disadvantages of something. The disadvantages, and the following paragraph can be the advantages. So this is how we normally structure argumentative writing. The bad, and then the good. The good follows the bad. The advantage follows the disadvantage. So this is how we normally structure argumentative writing, for example. So knowing the focus, the task, and planning will help you understand how you're going to structure it as well. And in structuring it, you need to decide, for example, in the introduction, you need to think about what you're going to cover in the introduction. So normally in the introduction, you talk about, you say, this is what I'm going to cover in this essay, yeah? and you might highlight the structure as well of the essay. And in the body, that's where you have the detailed information, the specific information, as opposed to general information in introductory paragraphs. And you have conclusion where you make summaries, and you might also say, this is what we've covered. In the introduction, remember we say, this is what we'll cover. And in the conclusion, in simple terms, you say, this is what we've covered. So basically, it's repeating the key points covered. And you have references there. So thinking about structuring is very, very important in academic writing. So when we say preparation there, when we're planning, remember that this is not casual writing. Academic writing requires a lot of thinking, planning, and we often go for perfection, and we try to avoid mistakes as much as possible. So we're looking at also link. So all the paragraphs need to be connected. Remember, one paragraph, we say, one idea. Advantages and disadvantages, it's better not to put them in one paragraph. There are two ideas. They hold two different ideas. For the sake of clarity, it's better to have two separate body paragraphs. The first one, let's say in the case of argumentative again, advantages, disadvantages, and the second body paragraph, advantages. And making sure that the first the introductory paragraph is linked well to the body paragraph, and the body paragraph is linked well to both introductory and concluding paragraphs. And this is achieved through using a lot of signposts, for example, linking words, referencing, making sure you use and your writing is consistent, and other factors too. Layout, like we said, when we achieve good structure, when we have good planning, and when we have good understanding of the task, the layout comes with it. It doesn't come separately. There is no layout without good planning. There is no layout without good structuring. There is no layout without good understanding of the task itself. But when we say layout, we are talking about neatness, consistency, legible. So making sure that it's clear. So this layout you use brings clarity to the reader. And remember, you're writing to the reader. So if it's not clear for the reader, there is no point in writing. So make sure what you write is clear to the reader. And remember, if you understand but not so well, the reader will not understand it at all. So make sure it's so clear for you when you read it again. And so that's something with clarity, legible writing, and then consistency in making sure that your layout is consistent. I'll show you an example of a good layout. So here, so if you look at this document, you've got the title here. So see the title here, bold. It's not the same. The size of the font is not the same. And this is, both are bolded, but it's not the same. It means that it shows the importance of the title and how different the title section is. And again, you see the consistency. The font type hasn't changed. Yeah. And if you look at the margins also, you can see that they are aligned. So one is not on the side and the other starting in the middle. No, it's consistent. The margins on both sides are consistent, as you can see, where the text is ending, where the text is starting, all the same. And also you can see the titling used, all consistent. The numbering used, the placing and everything is the same. Yeah. And you might also look at where the logo is, the space between each text, each paragraph is consistent and clear for the reader. So we're saying, layout is also important, but it's part of your planning. It's part of your, understanding the task and structuring. And what do you think is the most important mistake with organizing academic writing? So again, poor syntax, repetition, not organizing, sorry, with grammar and punctuation in particular. What do you think are the most common mistakes here? Okay, type your answer. What do you think is the most important mistake with grammar and punctuation, with basically writing academic? Yeah. So the most means the one that stands out from the rest, but the rest are also very important. But poor syntax comes before the rest. And this is because syntax, when we say syntax, we're talking about the word order within a sentence, yeah? So how the sentence is ordered, the word is ordered, the words are ordered within a sentence. So a teacher of English, English teacher, or something like that, how you order it. So thinking about the word order is very important, and clarity of basically the idea and the argument. We'll clarify this in a bit. So clarity, so there are several ways of expressing the same thing. And we have, so when we talk about grammar, in particular syntax, we might use one structure, maybe, let's say third conditional, when we say, if I had known, I would have let you know, or I did not know, therefore I didn't tell you. So if you choosing the right structure, and that should come with appropriacy, and that you should choose these grammatical structures appropriately. But for clarity's sake, you shouldn't use the same structure all the time, yeah? You should switch around orders and see, if they're clearer to the audience. And variety in this case plays a big role. Varying your syntax is part of quality writing. And again, this comes with, close to the previous part, syntax, repetition, avoiding over-relying, not really relying on not too much relying on particular structures all the time, or comma. If you have, rather than, having so many commas, correct, maybe, but why not full stop and start a new sentence? Yeah. You know, there are several ways of making sure that you're not relying on certain structures, grammatical structures, or punctuation marks. And this is also about your range. You know, you need to work on. I mean, it's also important that you show that you have enough words, or you know the different structures, and you're able to use complex structures, but making sure that they are clear. So it's not about using complex words or structures for the sake of showing them off, like most people do. It's more about what would be most interesting for the reader and what would be clearer for the reader. So simplicity and keeping the reader interested is important. If you use cliche structures, you might end up not impacting your reader. So thinking about the impact it would have on the reader is key as a result. The next one is about inappropriacy. You know, so when you use, for example, I talked about conditionals, for example, conditional sentences. So conditional sentences, if you use conditional 3, for example, it's unreal past situation. In this case, you might have that kind of regret, the sense of regret that something didn't happen. When you say, if I had known that there was a concert, I would have joined you. Then it means if I did not know, so I didn't join you. And the person feels a bit, maybe would have liked to join them. So in this case, you're saying, so if you use the conditional form, it means you're showing that regret and everything. But if you use the simple form, I did not know, so yeah, I didn't join you, then that sends a different message, which is less regretful than a normal standard sentence in a way. So academic appropriacy and formal language. We're also talking about register, in which, so in the case of academic writing, we talk about formal language. So we don't use contractions like what's or there, as in they are is the long form. So we use the long form, not the contracted, the short form. So we don't also impose on everyday speech. We think about so our word choice, right? So avoiding everyday, some reports or other types of academic writing you might have come across would look like maybe a speech. It shouldn't be like that. So make sure that they are professional, they are formal, they use the different techniques of writing, those genre, particular types of writing. So it shouldn't read as conversation. Stylistic choices, again, for clarity reasons, most of the time, passives are favored when it comes to academic formal writings, because they are impersonal. So when I say the research has been conducted, it doesn't matter who conducted it. The focus is on the fact that the research has been conducted. So if you're focusing on the result or the action, it's better to use passives. So in most cases, that's why we tend to use passives in academic writing. And if we want to focus on who has done the action, who has done the research. We might say, you know, the team has conducted the research. Yeah. Yeah. So it's we need to thoroughly think about our choice of grammatical structures. And we should avoid rhetorical questions. We need to cover basically everything needs to be answered. A lot of the things we say should be answered for clarity's sake. So we don't need rhetorical questions. So rhetorical questions are basically questions that make the reader think about the question, basically, not respond to it. So make sure if we ask, we answer the questions there. And the other aspect we'll cover today is precision. And precise words add analysis and power. We say, look at this sentence. As you can see, it's not precise. Can you make it precise? It's vague, unimpressive, and long. The patient did not want to receive additional medical support, and the reason stemmed from their strong belief in religion. Religion, yeah. Yeah. Grammatically correct, but too long, not so impressive, and a bit unclear. So we say we have to keep it simple, yeah. So we use the KISS approach, the KISS principle. Keep K standing for KISS, and I standing for it, and S standing for simple. So make it simple like this. The patient rejected medical treatment because of their strong religious beliefs. So you can see the strong, the formal language there as well, as in there instead of his or her. Did not want to is replaced by rejected. Shorter, easier to understand. It's precise, powerful, accurate, and a bit more analytical, giving us the reason there with clarity. So 2 seconds, look at the expressions A to D. They can be replaced by 1 to 4. About replaces A, B. Number 1, about, replaces A, B, C, or D. Number 2, can or could, or may or might replace which ones? The same for 3 and 4. You may type your answers below. Yeah. So, because, since, or why may replace for the reason that, which is too long, yeah? Instead, we might say for the reason that, instead we might say since, due to the fact that, because, or since, in light of the fact that, just too long. So keep them short and simple to understand. About, as you can see, must. It is crucial that can, could, may, might replace. For example, can, could can be replaced by is able to can be replaced by can or could. Short, easy to understand. The longer remember, the harder to understand for the reader. So let's not, better not to complicate things for the reader, because as I said earlier, it's all about the reader. Okay. So we've got some tips here. So double negatives reduce clarity and concision and precision. So rather than saying it is not uncommon, you can just simply say it is common. Why complicate it to your reader? You want your reader to understand you. Just make it simple for him or her. It's unlikely that it will likely succeed. Unlikely, it will likely succeed. Positive is always better. Replace negative with affirmative sentences, like not many, just few. That's what you mean. Not important, minor or unimportant. Not possible, impossible. Not the same, different. You can remember in casual or personal writing, not many is okay. But when it comes to academic writing, when it comes to, achieving precision, better to make them short and better to replace negatives with affirmative statements when possible. Did not allow for, prevented. Did not pay attention, ignored. Did not remember, forgot. So it's all about really going to the point, not going around and round and round the bush. So more tips. So remove less vital information as well to achieve precision. So find the redundant, irrelevant, and less important information in the following sentence, and then trying to write it with precision. Remove or reorder less vital and apply the KISS principle, keeping it simple. Yeah, so a simple size, it's too long, and while the reader is processing it, he might really miss out on the message you are trying to transfer. So despite valid data collection methods, the same size was insufficient to gather enough data on the study population. So that's, yeah. So general tips to end our session. Which of these tips do you think are good or not good for academic writing? Don't use in contractions. Is this a good tip? Never use passive. Avoid using you and your. Avoid abbreviations. Avoid using cliche phrases. The only bad tip is B. Never use passives. Use them when appropriate. Use passives when appropriate. And as we said earlier, it's better not to use contractions. Contractions are semi-formal or informal. They are not formal. And, in academic writing, we want to sound formal. So let's say, instead of using this contraction, we may use the long form, as in they are, not there. They are your or I'd, can be I would. So it's better to use the long forms in academic writing, in any formal writing, yeah? So don't avoid contractions in academic writings. Avoid using you and your, because we, in academic or formal writing, we try to avoid personal comments and make them impersonal. And that's key. So we normally use third conditionals, not first and second, third person singular pronouns rather than first and second person pronouns. So you is first person, your is, yeah. So avoid abbreviations. If they are outlined already, it's fine. If they are defined in the maybe introduction or at the end, okay. But when they're not defined, avoid them. Avoid using cliche phrases as well. I mean, it's good to use clear language, but not words or words or phrases that are redundant. I mean, commonly used cliches. They're not. They reduce the originality of the writing. They make the reader less interested in reading, as they are words that the reader read maybe in many papers and things. Right. So remember, when you're writing academic writing, think about your reader. You're writing to the reader. Think about KISS. KISS is keep it simple, basically. Keep your writing simple for your reader. Remember to use visuals and things like support your evidence, support your thoughts, ideas, arguments with visuals, and keeping it simple for the reader to understand. If you use charts and basically diagrams, they make life simple for the reader. So when usable, when possible, use them. Precision is important. Yeah, target, achieving the target rather than going around the bush and telling a story. No, just explain, but make sure it's precise. Organization is better. It's important. Layout is key. Also, register is very important. So formal, in this case, using formal language. We are evidence-based rather than opinion-based when it comes to academic writing. So making sure that we show the different perspectives, and we are more about the evidence, real facts and things, rather than personal opinions and things in general with academic writing. And make sure at the end, this is the last tip I have for you today. Make sure you proofread and edit at the end. It's key, and that sums up what we have for today. So we have a new product coming up, my class product, and it's a very flexible course which will start in April. So I suggest you get registered. You may also use our link here or QR code to request, maybe inquire. This is an inquiry form, so you might inquire registration, or our customer service will get back to you with more information if you inquire for the courses we have. Make sure you follow us on our Facebook page and Instagram as well as Twitter. And this is it for our second session. Thank you very much for staying tuned with us, and I look forward to seeing you for our third live session in 2 weeks' time. Thank you. Bye-bye.